Hello. This is No Gaming Scientist, and John is going to start a big boy. Final Fantasy XIII. A game I was super hyped for. This was like when I really got into... Yeah, I kind of really got into Final Fantasy and JRPGs in general. And I remember liking it. I remember it was controversial at the time. Still is for most people. But it is what it is. Is this Connor's first Final Fantasy?
No.
No?
I've even played part of this before, but I kind of bounced off of the part of the opening at some point.
Right.
I don't remember how far I got into it though.
Mm-hmm.
I've played through 16, of course.
Oh yeah, but like, I guess older Final Fantasies.
Yeah,
you haven't played many.
I played mobile ones. So I played Tactics Advance, and I did beat that. So
okay.
yeah, I haven't played that many. I'm not like a huge fan of the franchise or anything.
Okay. Well, here we go. We'll just do normal. Okay, sure. All right. This game still looks visually really good. Like, it's obvious, I think, that it's a PS3, a 360 era game.
Yeah, which is now something to be said.
I mean, same with L.A. Noire, now that I think about it.
That's true. It came out near the end of the 360 era.
Like, this FMV scene is still fantastic looking.
Yeah.
I originally was going to go through and like mod the game, but that proved to be too much work. So we're just going to do vanilla PC release. Unfortunately, there's no way to play this on like modern consoles anymore, unless you own the discs, to my knowledge. This is one that like I think Final Fantasy fans really want some kind of remaster for, like this 13.2 and then Lightning Returns. So 13 is wild that they got their own like trilogy of games before 15 came out.
Best of luck. She did it.
Which I'll do my best to remember kind of the lore. And that was one complaint, was like there's some specific lore jargon that isn't really explained well.
Yeah.
Like there, let's see. We'll go over that in a second. This song from the soundtrack is a fucking banger.
Is it stuff that gets explained eventually? Because like,
not in a codex.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Good for them.
Or in like trailers, but like I don't think the characters themselves explicitly explain what these things are.
This was also kind of an era of that kind of thing too. Mass Effect had some of that going on. I found their codex. Their codex is pretty. They were all narrated, so they weren't terrible to go through. You just let them read it, but if you weren't into it, you would just miss big chunks of the background.
Yeah, so this area here is called Saber's Edge, and it's kind of like a transport system on the way from a place called Cocoon to Pulse. And so Square Enix has basically two main teams of Final Fantasy producing studios right now. So this is, I think, Business Division 1, which are the people that are like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 10, and 13. And the 7 remake trilogy. That's kind of like this group. and they have very specific aesthetics, story style, etc. But then there's also Division 3, which is the Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 16 crew.
Got it.
So those are the two main ones right now that do Final Fantasy. I don't know if they planned to make more groups so that like there's always a Final Fantasy in production, you know?
Yeah.
So everyone harps on this game for, at the time, for the battle system, which you'll see in a second. And again, you played a little bit of it, but
yeah,
because you can effectively auto battle. Oh, I forgot that they. Okay, I remember this. So, basically, you have your ATB gauge, that bar there, and then you can use abilities if you want, or you can have it auto battle. The auto battle is pretty good. You can do items like normal, and the crux of this game more is about changing roles on the fly, which we won't have any right now, but we will soon. And this is the game that introduced the stagger meter to Final Fantasy canon, and that like mechanic has been in every Final Fantasy since.
Did this team also do 15?
No, so 15, wild story, very commonly known in the Final Fantasy fandom, but so at the same time they announced 3 games that had the number 13 associated with them under what was called the Fabula Nova Chrysalis, I think, banner, which translated loosely to like New Tale of the Crystal. So you had this game, Final Fantasy 13, kind of like the mainline Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Final Fantasy Agito 13, which was like a mobile game version. And then you had Final Fantasy Versus 13, which was going to be headed up by the Kingdom Hearts team, or like a big part of the Kingdom Hearts team. Now, the reason they just wanted diversity, right? They wanted to attempt spin-offs. Now, what ended up happening is Final Fantasy 13 Versus 13 went through development hell. Like, announced in 06, I think. Didn't release until 2016. And at some point, they just rebranded it as 15.
Okay.
It still kept a lot of the lore, but I love that game, but it's very clear that the game was kind of cobbled together to whatever could work. This rating means nothing, so I don't care about it.
It's just making you feel good?
Yeah. Or bad.
Or bad, yeah.
So yeah, at a point they decided 13 was 13, and then the mobile version became just a spin-off Final Fantasy in general. And then the Versus 13 rebranded as 15. And 14 came out as 14.
So they're different worlds, even though they were under that 13 banner for a long time.
Yeah, the only unifying thing was that they were going back to an emphasis on like the crystals, which were like
from Crystal Chronicles and stuff.
No, like the original Final Fantasies were based on crystals.
Oh,
like,
okay. I didn't.
The main like
okay.
MacGuffin story point, which is ironic because 15 then continued that crystal like storytelling.
And that's in 16, obviously.
Yeah, because 15 dealt with the crystals, 16 dealt with the crystals. Yeah, so you had pretty much every main line after 13 dealing with crystals.
Yeah, that's the other one I played though, Crystal Chronicles, but it was
yes,
not very good.
No, thank you. That feels right. Okay. Okay. You possess an advanced digital journal known as the data log. So that's the thing people like disliked about it, is that a lot of this lore was in the data log.
Got it.
And you know, gamers, they don't want to read more often than not. I don't mind.
Feels like a good compromise between being overly didactic and
yeah.
That's my feeling anyway. Like I can see how it can be kind of tedious at times. That is what I was saying with the with Mass Effect. Like, that one feels like it should. What's the word I'm looking for? Like you can get a lot of the lore you have to get a lot of the background lore by listening to the codexes, but they're narrated, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. And I'm the psycho guys that needs the exclamations to go away. That's just how I am. So bear with me.
Tells you if you have anything new come up.
Yeah, and then it has the bestiary as well.
Got it.
These are just settings, which target from list. We won't mess with these for now.
Sure we can get through here.
And the other big criticism was that this game is very linear for a Final Fantasy.
Sure.
Which I can understand.
Yeah.
Let me actually delete all my old saves. Which, to be clear, everyone, I have not replayed this at all. I have started it clearly a bunch of times, but never completed a new playthrough since 2010, 2010. I think that's when this originally came out. Many and various enemies stalk the roads that you must travel. Upon entering an enemy's detection radius, the mini-map in the upper right corner of the screen will flash in warning. Coming into contact with any enemy will initiate a battle. So I think this game had kind of a weird uphill battle after 12. Because 12, there was no transition from battle to...
well, 12 was
field.
more...
It was definitely an MMO feel to it.
And I played a little bit of 12 on the Switch some years back, but I didn't get into it, and I basically sold it back to GameStop.
Yeah, I played it once in my life, and I always want to come back to it, but I find it very difficult to do so.
It reminds me of the Dragon Age Origins combat system a little bit, where it's kind of a...
One nice thing is the auto battle system even changes depending on which enemy you pick. So if they were closer together, I would actually be doing Blitz, which is kind of like an AoE spin. So there's some positioning you can think of. Like,
it feels kind of like this might have been part of what led to games like a Dragon and stuff like that then.
Maybe.
I know that's much more turn-based explicitly, not auto-battling. This is an extension of like Chrono Trigger, right?
Yeah, so see, I had a couple there next to each other, and now it's Blitz. But if I went to that guy in the back, actually they're all close, so I'll use Blitz again. But now that they're far apart, I can use just regular attacks. And you don't have to actually use all of your ATB at a time. Earlier, I only had one bar, and I chose auto battle, and it did 2 attacks in a row, but I saw that one was low, so I hit triangle to just initiate the sequence with just 1 bar of ATB.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and once they start adding like the class changing to it, like I don't think I would be able to efficiently make menu decisions off the bat like that.
Purged, I get. But taking on trained soldiers?
Better to die than get sent to Pulse. It's hell for the Brimstone.
Wait, speaking of Mass Effect, Lightning, our main character, is voiced by the actress that plays Liara.
Domesticated peacekeepers. Nothing.
Oh, okay. I think I can I recognize it. Yeah.
I'm trying to say, hey.
And
Yeah, that was a big. That Mass Effect 2 is a big deal for me. Mass Effect 2, I got.
Mass Effect 2 is so good. Like I still. Yeah.
Well, I got an Xbox 360 and an iPod Nano for my graduation present.
High school
In
or
high school. High
Okay.
school. So that summer I played Mass Effect 2 and Fallout 3 and
So
I think Red Dead Redemption. I think Red Dead Redemption 1 like pretty excessively. I had to hook it up to my parents' TV because my TV was an old CRT TV that didn't work very well with the system.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I came into the cycle a little late, but it was
It was
a
kind
good
of a
time.
magical time, that era.
It was a good time. I was able to get all the DLC without for Fallout 3 because it had already
Yeah.
been released because it'd been out for 2 years. And the iPod was so good though.
As we come across more things about the game that people kind of criticize, I'll talk more and kind of give my take on it.
5th generation iPod Nano though. I'm kind of wanting to find one. I want to get on eBay or something and find one. There's a big community right now of refreshing old iPods. Mostly the iPod Classic, I think, because I think those hard drives can be more easily replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are trying to do that with Zunes as well.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
like-
a couple years ago I found the Zune my brother had. I was like,
Yeah,
I forgot this thing existed.
it was a huge misstep for them, I would say.
Yeah.
Microsoft is always that company that like it tries a little bit and then they give up.
They try with a little bit of their hardware and they kind of make like a weird, baffling decision about the hardware.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was something really weird about the Zune that I was like, why was this the choice?
Yeah, I had a friend who swore by it in high school. One of it was it didn't. Apple moved towards solid state drives for their MP3 players early. I think the Zune came out when they could have done some kind of solid state, maybe, and they
Yeah.
chose to use a rotating disc for the first model.
Even
Which is
just
so-
using like just a flash drive situation would have been better.
I flash drive probably is the right word. Solid state might be a little bit of a
I
misnomer.
was like, solid state. I don't think was highly adopted yet. I don't even think it was available that small form factor yet either. It was probably flash memory. Bad, I guess. All right. So, general context: we are in Saber's Edge, trying to stop a purge from happening. So in this world, Connor, which they might explain later, but I'm gonna front load. If you are branded by a fal'Cie, that you are basically chosen by godlike beings to perform a task of some kind, what is called your focus. You get a literal like tattoo branding on your arm. Now, Cocoon has fal'Cie, and then Pulse, which she mentioned is the world below, has their own fal'Cie as well. Typically, getting branded by Pulse is like a death sentence. They purge you down to Pulse. So, Thaz is how you pronounce his name, and Lightning are trying to stop a purge from happening for their own personal reasons. What? I know how to... I don't have a potion to use, or a thing to use, so let's get him out of the way. Some design decisions people didn't like your HP auto heals.
at the end of
after
combat.
at the end of combat.
I like that. I think that that's more common in modern RPGs. I can, to be honest, I can see both arguments.
Yeah.
I can see both sides. It's all about how the game is designed, though.
Yeah, because this game is not designed around MP. There's really no MP usage at all. It's all abilities based on that ATB gauge. Yeah, I'm kind of hyped to be playing this again. I haven't played a Final Fantasy in a while.
I always like the aesthetics. I've never gotten quite into the gameplay except for 16, and 16 is a very different game aesthetically.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less.
Aesthetically, mechanically, like
It has a lot less futurism in it. It's much more.
No, don't leave me.
Let go.
The hell no, you're my only way out of here. No, Hey, that might get us across. Right there.
I might jack the shadow resolution down one step the next time we record this. I want it to be consistent
Looks
60
that
all the
way.
time. Again, looks pretty solid still for 15-year-old
it
game.
looks decent. It looks decent, yeah. And it's stylized enough that it doesn't look quite as rough as
Yeah.
Noir did.
Leave this to me.
I want to figure out if I can get that to show up on the right, the other screen next time, because I do think it's trying to push to a high resolution screen, and it's
It highlights the imperfections a lot more.
yeah. Yeah, this definitely reminds me of Chrono Trigger.
And then
Which
the
is the game I
summons
keep-
are definitely a bigger part of this game too, mechanically
Oh yeah,
or story-wise. No,
yeah. I mean,
mechanically
you don't
or mechanically.
you didn't have summons in 16 really, because the summons were your transformations.
Yeah,
Which, sure. You obviously had your ultimate and your attacks from those abilities, but like it was much more like I can't think of an example.
I still think my favorite implementation of summons is probably 10, because I think it was like the perfect melding of summon
Hurry up and get over here.
in a narrative sense as well as a gameplay sense. And maybe we'll revisit 10 as a series later, because that is probably one of my favorite Final Fantasies. My absolute favorite is 8, which maybe I'll revisit that, because that game is really fun to break, like I told you, because of the way the leveling system works in that game.
Just exploit the leveling system.
Yeah, you can break the hell out of that game. Like, it's kind of crazy. But I also think it has an interesting plot in terms of like geopolitics and the idea of like private military, private mercenaries that doesn't get its due. I'm not saying it's like super in depth. It's not like a Kojima type level of narrative.
Probably
which,
more
dude,
easy.
we should check if the Metal Gear Solid collection is on sale, because that would be something I'd be down to play through.
Ugly?
Yeah, I've never played them. I want to play them. I don't know if I want to record that though.
I would record that.
Although that might be okay to stream. I'm just gonna struggle through a lot of it. At least I played 3 in the past, and I remember struggling with it. But I was also a lot younger.
Don't remember what attack chain is, so I am actually gonna watch this.
And this is how you like.
Build the stagger.
This is to help
essentially.
and fight stronger enemies, basically.
Yeah. So so you see there, it's gonna now take 204% damage. And then, yeah, because otherwise I would just be like pummeling them way way too long. And as I continue to hit them, their percentage comes up as well. Later, we will get a class, basically. They're not introducing classes yet. Its main focus is to build stagger. Which you can see this later in, if you ever play the 7 remake, like, staggering is a big part of that game. And one of the characters, Tifa, is pretty much built around staggering. Like, she's the main stagger. Like, I keep her in my party all the time because she just staggers. She builds that stagger meter so quickly.
Yeah.
And yet, I would say this introduced stagger and like has been some kind of component in a Final Fantasy since it was introduced. Like, you have it in 16 as well.
What? Classified military info? Huh? What's the matter? You quit, didn't you? You think I'm gonna go out there and just tell everybody your secrets?
My angle. I'm after the Foul Sea.
What a goofy machine. So
Yeah, I mean that's Final Fantasy in a nutshell, though, right?
Or just sci-fi in general. Like,
I do appreciate the idea, though, of like
Didn't have a choice.
semi-mechanical systems that require like a complicated pattern, so you're not just going to accidentally actuate it or something. You could replicate that with like a digital system too, of course, but like I can appreciate it, even though it looks goofy.
so you can see like the Cocoon government kind of just frames it as like a relocation rather than like a purge.
Migration? More like extermination.
Huge. You stay here.
The character designs, Connor.
These people need heroes.
Heroes.
With the fist pump.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, these games are Japanese and anime as hell, and I'm like, I go into it understanding that. Do you recognize the voice, by the way?
No.
What's our motto?
A little bit, but I don't know where from.
Attaboy.
Oh, is that... Wait, who is it?
Do you want me to give you a couple list of games and then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Persona 4.
Okay, no, that's not gonna help me.
Uncharted 4.
Oh, is it See, names are in my head a little bit, but I don't think I know these people's names well enough.
I'm trying to think of games that won't give it away. Did you watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not really.
He's in there.
No, just go for it. I don't think I'm gonna get it.
The next game, you'll definitely get it. Ready?
Yeah.
The Last of Us.
Okay, then it's Troy Baker, right?
Yeah.
Or...
So this is
Yeah,
Troy Baker,
I was
like pre blow up of his like.
Okay. I was like between Troy Baker and Nolan North, but I couldn't figure it out.
You can save them all. No, it's even worse.
But I'm probably gonna recognize it more knowing that. I was.
Yeah.
No dirt naps today. We're all in this together.
Yeah, that's definitely Troy Baker.
Our enemies, the Cocoon Sanctum. Their dreaded Psycom, no
Like, this is his normal voice, but just like the heroism just janked up a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
he's
that,
not,
like optimism. I'll call it more.
He's not putting on an accent. In a lot of his game, or
like
accent's the right.
Joel, he does his normal voice, lowers it a little bit, and then puts like a Texas drawl on it.
Sanctum's gonna pay
Yeah.
for this.
So you don't know it. You don't know it's Troy Baker unless you're paying attention.
So this man just goes fisticuffs.
Wrapped up and ready.
What jacket does he have on right now?
You see that?
And everyone can do the roles, but like most Final Fantasy, some characters are kind of like pre-built for a specific role.
Yeah.
And I won't go into too much detail what roles he fits quite yet.
Gotta clear a path out of here.
And might be a lengthy episode, just because I want to see if I can get through kind of the prologue of the game.
Yeah.
Hand grenade. They just don't have. They just don't have
that your
HP.
Is hand grenade your like multi-target attack right now?
Yeah. Because he just fights fists, whereas lightning will fight with a sword, so she can kind of like swing wide.
There are soldiers everywhere.
Yo, boss. What's the plan? Charge in, guns blazing.
Hey, that's not a plan. Real heroes don't need plans.
Sure.
Yeah, he's totally like his bit's kind of obnoxious. And look at my guy, just like, what's his positioning?
Like he's like hunched over weirdly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah!
What are they going for? Okay. So you can see I kind of waited for them to stagger that panther.
To get it out of the way.
Well, just so I can make my attacks hit a little harder.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Same plan as always. Hit him hard, and hit him again.
Let's see. I'm gonna wait for my buddies. There we go. Yeah, so there's explicit strategy to this game that I think people just discount because of the auto battle part.
Sure.
And I think playing it now, I definitely am taking more advantage of it than previously.
Don't you kids go falling behind now.
It's funny, in the cutscenes, it's a cool 60 frames all the time. Oh, I thought I... There we go.
You see that?
Yeah, I like the aesthetics of this though. Kind of like an Art Deco, future sci-fi city.
Yeah, all these
Has, like,
games are beautiful. They have
Has like both of
beautiful
those.
aesthetic.
It has like it's like a nice retro futurist,
Mhm.
but not like Fallout retro. It's like Art Deco futurism,
Mm.
which I really appreciate. So
You all okay? Hey, careful with those. Don't worry. No one's moving to Pulse today. We'll clear you a path out of here, so be ready to...
Let me fight with you. You can't expect us to just sit here.
Could help.
Yep. Please, let us help.
Okay then. Volunteers front and center.
Here, take this one. Here you go. And one for you.
Count
Go
me
for
in.
it. Here's yours. Take care now.
So,
Mom?
obviously it'll probably explain this a little more. Are these people in like the weird headdresses?
They are the lessee of the Pulse Fal'Cie.
Nice.
Can you show me again?
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works.
So they're the ones being purged down to Pulse.
Okay. I'm sure that'll get a little bit
You sure?
clearer, but feel free to fill it in though.
Yeah, again,
I wouldn't like over explain it ahead of time, but like just feel free to explain it if it's not doing a good job.
yeah.
Right.
So right now,
It's the last one.
the
boss.
Fal'Cie is some kind of being that lightning's going towards. These are all
All
lessee
right, last one.
being
Somebody
purged
take it.
under the guise of like peaceful relocation.
Yeah.
And then we have like a Aussie girl, Kiwi girl up in here.
Push comes to shove. Keep him safe.
First impression of snow? All talk.
All right, lay low and you'll be fine. We'll clear out the area. We're going home together!
I think if it does a character switch, we'll call it there.
Come on! Everybody up!
Right. New recruits, on me!
This makes me want to boot up Final Fantasy X too, because that game is also a banger.
Time to go, kiddo.
Oh no.
We're not
Okay.
losing to SciComm, you hear me?
This'll be a piece of cake.
I forget Final Fantasies have their menu on triangle.
Oh yeah, that was a thing for a long time for a lot of.
Stay sharp. Don't want to make their job any
You know, I think we'll call it there because I don't want to go too long.
easier.
Sorry, boss.
But yeah, this is Final Fantasy 13. I'm actually kind of I'm like low-key excited to be replaying this.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool.
Later.
Later.